Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brendan with EVOQ Bike. So I had been doing more podcast episodes recently, and in those podcasts, I've been mentioning that, hey, I've probably been riding a little bit too much tempo here now that I live in the mountains, where you do a 4-hour ride and it's 8,000 feet of climbing. You do a 2-hour ride, it's 4,000 feet of climbing. When you have a 28 cassette on in the rear, sometimes you got to push a few watts, and I just don't want to be doing high torque, so I just go a little bit too hard. Let's take a look at, with COVID, without COVID, and looking at my race results, has my cycling been too much tempo? How has the zone 1 been affected? If you've ever, if you know I'm a big hashtag no coast, keep pedaling the bike. I just put out a podcast about not obsessing over this, but if you Google EVOQ endurance rides, there's a time crunched article by Patrick that was really good. There's a video down here that explains why you need to ride endurance, but this one talks about optimizing it and talks about the 10% rule. What's up, Lala? I've altered it so that if you do live in the mountains, you're not trying to kill yourself and obsessing over only pedaling 10% in zone 1 on an endurance ride. Also, that's only for endurance rides. If you're doing intervals, you should be recovering very easily. Don't worry about zone 1 on those days. Now, we'll also check out my race results in regards to the training very briefly. If you ever are curious, this is my website. You can look at them. I have them all posted. You can see what races I've gone to, which ones I've gotten crushed at, which ones I've done well at. And then, lastly, I'm not a huge Steven Seiler fan just because I don't like how I think the polarized concept was presented to all of us, and then that he sort of eventually said on another podcast, well, you could graduate from polarized and move back to a 5-zone model. His whole point in doing this was to have cyclists ride easier and become more aerobic. I appreciate that about him. I greatly do, but it's like, dude, just tell us that. You don't have to make this new model and say that the 5-zone model is bad. I think the classic 5-zone model is very good. So anyways, there's this OG article, Complete Polarized Training for Cyclists Guide. We talk about how to calculate your zones based on the 2 podcasts that he did with Velo News, which were very good. They make it a little complicated, so I broke it down. When you break it up, it's not 80-20. That's what the sessions are. When you talk about time, they initially say 90% in zone 1, which would be classic zone 1 and 2, and then 10% in zone 3, which is classic zone high 4, zone 5, and zone 6. 10% is a lot. They do say you can even lean more to 95.5. I don't know if 95 is, well, let's see. 95.5. I don't think I'm going to come anywhere close 10% at zone 5 and 6. It just doesn't seem possible. So 2020, the year of the COVID, 19.5% zone 1, 50% zone 2, 21% zone 3. They would say that this is too much zone 3. I admit it. I like riding tempo, and I do think there's a good place for it. So 20% and 50% is 70, plus 10 is 80. So I'm really only 70% in their zone 1. And then in the area that I'm not supposed to have much time, I'm at 27%, let's say. Zone 5 and 6, 2.45 plus 1.7 is 4.15. So I'm not even at 5%. I don't go super hard very often. Now, let's go to this year. And the reason I want to do this in Training Peaks is any of you can do this. You can look and see how much time are you wasting coasting. Well, zone 1, if it's really inflated, if you're at 40%, there's poorly spent time in there. I'm telling you that. Let's go to this year. So obviously we won't have a full year, but we will have January 23.6 in zone 1. So my zone 1 hasn't increased nearly as much as I thought from living in the mountains. My endurance time, 50.8. That is up almost 2%. My zone 3 time is actually lower. So that's good. Let's see. Zone 4 time, 5.3%. That last year was 7%. So I've actually cut out this amount of time. So 23 and 51 is 75. So I'm a little bit better. 3.8%. So I'm below 5% racing.
So one thing to interject here, I'm not adding in that small amount of upper zone 4 that they might include, which is only about 5% of my riding total for the entire zone of zone 4. But if you want to get even more specific and you have WKO, you can look at your Polarized Training monthly report or weekly report and look at the time above 85% VO2 max, as long as the algorithms have your power at VO2 max at a number that makes your zones fall correctly, that would include upper threshold. Mine does. It has it at 503 watts. 85% of that would be about 430. And with an FTP of 415, 105% of 415 would include that number. And when I use that, my value of time above 85% VO2 max is definitely well below 5%.
Now, let's see though. Let's go to my Polarized and see how many. I haven't done as many races because racing didn't start until later. There was some, I did a bunch of stuff in Georgia. Tennessee didn't have many races. My gravel bike was down. 2020, next to no races. 2019, a hell of a lot of racing. 2018, a lot of racing. So I actually haven't looked at these yet. Let's look at these. I'm like, tell a good story, numbers. So 22% and 40%. So the zone 2 time was down and the tempo time was up. And now my question, riding too much tempo. Was this 2019? But let's look. What I'm really curious about is 2.75 and 2.49. So I'm at 5. Okay, I hit 5% in 2019. But it was a lot of racing, so that's probably why. So it's really the racing that's giving me the intensity. And in 2018, 2.3. So I'm back to 4%. 24, 43, ton of tempo. So my tempo has actually gone down, even though I live in the mountains. I'm keeping it more purely aerobic. And the thing is, so I'm going to put in this article about anaerobic training. You know, Tom, my coach, I've always considered myself a very aerobic trained person that pedals, but I pedal I'm working on endurance. That's the key to being good at a sport like this. Most athletes go way too hard. If I go look at Group Ride Joey, he's going to have so much smashing time and so much coasting time. You don't need that much of that training. Now, the last piece to look at for this is, let's look at the years that we were looking at. 2018, I didn't ride as much, but 19 and 20 and 21, I'll definitely crush. This year, I don't know if I'll hit that number. End of the day, I'm surprised, but I think the takeaway is good race results for myself come from aerobic training. And here's the last piece. Let's go back to newbie. What year was I Cat 2? So I started, it's probably going to be a lot of zone 1, everybody. Drum roll. So it took me 2 seasons to get my 1. 2011, I started as a 1. Actually, no, I think I ended this as a 1. Oh my God. There we go. Group Ride Joey, what up? That's disgusting, dude. What? I'm embarrassed by that. That's when I first got a power meter. Okay, let's check 2011. I'm really scared to see this. Joey, don't do it. Yep, look at that. That's horrible. Don't be that. Don't be this guy. This is newbie me. Getting better. Slowly but surely. But it took a while. I mean, it's like, so as you can see, it took me some time to get into the right groove, really most recently. Anyways, I thought this was interesting. I'm not riding too much tempo. What's up? Have a great week. Good luck. Train easier, but ride. Don't coast. See ya.